Grayson Grundhoefer with about 4 to 5, maybe even 5 or 6 threads at the top of SicEm365.com in the premium section. But the very top, official visit weekend running thread. He joins us on 365 Sports. Grayson, how big of a weekend is it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very big weekend for Baylor for a lot of reasons, right? I mean, they're obviously trying to turn over the roster, and there's a lot of transfers going out, and then they're trying to get transfers to come in and replace the guys that they lost, and trying to find guys who can fill up spots but can come in immediately. So a lot of things to work on. Obviously, the big talking point right now is the quarterback position, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because currently Baylor only has one scholarship quarterback on the roster, and that's Blake Shapen. And while Blake is talented, and we've seen that talent in spurts, it's tough to have one quarterback on the roster. No one wants that going into the spring, and that includes Baylor. So that's going to be a focal point here in the next couple of days as they try to find, another quarterback or two to come in, provide some competition with Blake Shapen, and also provide some stability and depth at the position. That's going to be really, really important. And obviously they're going to look at some other positions as well. But I know quarterback is the one that I think everyone has been talking about a lot since the season ended.
Grayson, so do you expect them to get two quarterbacks at once in the transfer portal, or do you think it'll be one and then they may have to bide their time a little bit?
Yeah, so the only thing that I would say, I'm not even going to guarantee it, but I would be completely stunned if they didn't get at least one quarterback going into the spring. They have to have two scholarship quarterbacks going into spring football. But I do think there's a pretty decent chance that they end up getting two this time around, and that would give them three scholarship quarterbacks, three guys to come in and compete for the starting job going into the fall. And then I feel like that's probably, the way that's going to play out. But regardless, Baylor needs numbers. So if they only get one this cycle, then you can bet they're going to take another one before the fall, just because they need at least three. That would be the ideal situation. You don't want to go into a season with just two scholarship quarterbacks, even though they did that a year ago.
So, Grayson, you've talked about the importance of quarterback, and we talked to Matt Pallage, new DC, just a couple of days ago, and he was talking about he was already underway recruiting before he even left Eugene, and he was talking about how big this weekend is. So outside of the obvious position, what else is kind of on tap for them at the moment?
Right, and Matthew Pallage actually came in and immediately put out some offers when he became the defense coordinator at Baylor. We're also seeing Christian Robinson, the linebacker coach as well. He's put out an offer. He put out one to Keelan Moses, which is a very popular name. He's the brother of Dylan Moses in the 2025 class. So both of those guys are starting to send out some offers and do some work on the recruiting trail. But yeah, you mentioned college. So I think the big thing for him, right, is trying to figure out how are they going to build depth at the cornerback and safety position, because they need that in the secondary, while having some of those available spots on other positions defensively as well. I think a big one that kind of happened, it was almost simultaneous, but Al Walcott announced that he was entering the transfer portal, and then offered to East Carolina linebacker / safety, probably a star type in Jaire Wilson out of East Carolina. It was almost like one of those situations where you go, okay, so this is kind of what the kind of prospect they want to potentially replace in Al Walcott. So you saw that immediately from Pallage. That was one of the first offers that he extended once he became the defense coordinator at Baylor. So yeah, he's definitely getting his feet wet and trying to provide an impact on the recruiting trail, because in all honesty, I think we all know that the defense has a lot of holes and they have a lot of depth concerns as well. So a lot of reasons to go in and enter into recruiting the transfer portal to try to find some of those guys who can fill those needs.
Of the quarterbacks that are out there, and I know that there's been things written or whatever, but whether it's former Texas Tech and Michigan quarterback Alan Bowman or Sawyer Robertson, and he's out there, which of those two do you feel like what priority would you have?
Oh, between the two?
Yeah.
Okay, between those two, I think that the obvious answer here is Sawyer Robertson. I mean, the thing of it is both those guys are at two very different points in their careers, because Alan Bowman only has one more year of eligibility left. He's going to be a sixth-year guy. And so while he's got a lot of, experience, he's played a ton of football, played a lot at Texas Tech, didn't do a whole lot at Michigan, but was still a part of a loaded quarterback room. But he's the guy who could come in and maybe surprise some people and show off that experience and be able to get the job done. So that if he does come in, he's trying to compete because it's his last chance. Now, on the flip side, Sawyer Robertson could be a guy that's kind of the future of his program. I mean, that's literally the kind of talent that he is. And I think there's one thing you can absolutely trust from a Mike Leach coach team, and that's that they're going to have great quarterback play, and that they're going to find quarterbacks who are very much ready to play college football. And Robertson was behind a really good quarterback at Mississippi State with Will Rogers, and so he had to wait his turn. And now you got to think he's probably a very polished guy at this point in his career. He's been in college for a while now, and if you look at what he did when he was at Lubbock Coronado, I mean, he was a top 150 prospect in the nation, put up a ton of stats, was very accurate, didn't turn the ball over. And I just think he's going to come in if he does end up choosing Baylor over TCU, then I think he could be a guy that can provide a lot of stability at the quarterback position for the future. And that's huge because he has 3 years of eligibility remaining.
Grayson, final thing for you. I know you're down in San Antonio, the Army All-American game. Saw Isaiah Robinson, the Baylor O-line signee, who's not, participating because of injury, but anything of note really from your experience down there?
Yeah, so I got to talk to Isaiah Robinson for a little bit this morning. That was nice, just catching up with him. I talked to him a little bit for the signing day show as well, but really good kid, and he's getting himself back to 100%. He got injured early in the season and then tried to come back, and when he did come back later in the year, he kind of re-aggravated it. So he and his parents decided it was best that he didn't play in this game, which is fine. So now he's going to get ready to focus on track. He was actually letting me know that he's going to be competing in shot put and discus and should be training for that coming up here in the near future. And then I also got to see the other Baylor commit that's actually playing in the game, and that's Palmer Williams, the punter out of North Carolina. I got to talk to him a little bit. He's really excited to play in the game, and he's also a guy who's early enrolling. So he'll be on Baylor's campus in, 10 days or something like that, a little bit less than that, I believe. But, yeah, he had great things to say about the Baylor program, and he's ready to come in and compete for the starting punter position now that Isaac Power has graduated and moved on. But both these guys really thrilled to be there. There's not a lot of times that Baylor has two guys in the Army All-American game. It's actually been pretty rare over the past few years, so it's really cool to see that.
Hey, Grayson, good luck. First of all, the All-Star games that are going on, and they're all wrapping up, and what you're doing with what's happening at Baylor this weekend. Great, great stuff. And there's a running thread. There's an attrition thread, which, of course, is interesting because everybody has one of those too. Thanks for your time and enjoy the weekend, and good luck covering it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Grayson Grundhoefer, SicEm365.com, recruiting analyst, and also co-host of the Bearcast on Tuesdays with Craig, here with us on 365 Sports. Craig, Paul, you want to break?